All right. So basically, like I got circled here. Okay, so you want your cross fencing there, you want some cross fencing there, and you want your weed treatments all in this area, right?
Yes. See, my goal here is to utilize this whole farm. Since I have retired, what I like to do is increase my numbers, and I have not been grazing this entire place, and I'd like to do prescribed grazing throughout the entire farm, and then build the excessive forage for, stored, feed for the wintertime.
Right.
So yes, I'd like to cross fence this area here, that part going behind, and what you see that old pond bed in there. That's that's been out, and also put a cross fence right across this field that we're looking at right here on the map, in order to enclose this small area here. Then I can better utilize this field that we're standing in, plus the field over here, and then the field on the other side. So it gives me 3 fields to rotate in just by cross fencing this one end. And I wonder if I could see where that old pond bed is right there. I wonder if I could clear that up just to make the place look better. What's your thoughts about that deal? Okay,
so about clearing that, I know with putting the fencing through there, we're gonna have to get some clearing done. So I'm gonna make sure I have a talk with my DC to make sure that just to try to see if we can pay for that. That way you won't have to do that on your own. But yeah, we'll definitely get that cleared, and it'll definitely, make a tremendous difference. As far as laying your fencing, okay, that's good. You want to do cross fencing, great for rotational grazing. How many head of cow do you have?
So today we've got about 38 mama cows.
Okay.
I'm keeping heifers. Even with the prices as high as they are today, I'm going to keep heifers and try to build this place up to about 60 mama cows.
Okay, so that cross fence is going to be great, because with your rotational grazing, you don't want your cows to eat more than about 2 to 3 inches. Once they get about that low, you want to rotate them to another section. So it's going to be good to do this cross fencing, and we can get that spread it out.
Liddell, let me interject a minute. We were talking about several different practices, talking about cross fencing and location, and looking at the feasibility of the land farm landscape. Then we also want to be cognizant of land resource concerns and minimizing risk and damage.
Right.
So you would go out and look at and make sure you have the locations of the cross fencing in conjunction with the land use and suitability.
Okay, so basically, how this whole process starts off, you would come in and apply. And from there, once we get your application on file, I would come out, being the technician for Holmes County, I would come out and I would, assess the land and see, like, okay, for example, if you wanted cross fencing and you did have cows, I would have to tell you, you had to have cows out here to get the fencing. So basically that's what that first visit would be for, just to look at the land and make sure, okay, he has this, he has that, different things like that. And then from that point, I would come, if I didn't circle it on the map that day, I would come back out and circle it so that we can go and form this plan. Once we form that plan and get it ranked and assessed, and you get in, then you could be funded. Now some of our programs, we have advance payment. So basically we would give the payment and you would have to implement, the practices, and, we would come out as certified. And if it's not done to our standards or specs, then, we give you time to fix it. And if it's not fixed, then you have to pay the money back. But most of our practices, you would put in the work and then we would pay you for it. And that's what most people want. They like to get the kind of, I guess, a sense of a reward after, putting in the work. But yeah, basically that's how that process would work. And like, as far as like, okay, here he wants the pipe. This is our state engineer. He would design that pipe for him. So if we have time, I do want to take him back there so he can see exactly.
I want to see everything that's going on.
That would be really good. Yeah, that pipe back here in this corner, what we get water moving through the place, and it created a huge gully really back here. And we were able to get in there and try to patch it up and do some things ourselves. But it'd be nice if you could look at it and just give us your assessment of what we can do back in that area.
Yeah, I would
just
love
to kind of save some of this land. This is a lowering foot-long soil, and it's very erosive. You know, so we get a big wash sometimes back in that area back there, particularly when we get rain. We just had 3 inches of rain, so I expect that we would see water running. You will see it in the process when we go back there. In addition to the pipe, though, I really would like to look at an area right here where the cattle are moving from this particular pasture here across to this pasture when they're rotating. It's a huge ditch, a depression that has formed there that, you know, I can't drive a truck across it. I can't really walk across it when it's mud, and the cattle can't get across it, really. Baby calves for sure can't get across it.
Is it water or is just really messy?
Typically really muddy, but it'd be water standing today because we had a 3-inch rain, see.
So we could do a crossing. We have some programs we could do a crossing for water crossing. And what you have in livestock, you would be eligible for us to pay for it. So we would pay for that, what you have in livestock. See, if you didn't have livestock, you would have to do that on your own. So yeah, that's gonna help out. Matter of fact, let me get that on the map. So you said about right in here?
Right in here, coming from this pasture into this pasture right here.
So about right, you would say about right in here somewhere or over here?
So just right where you see that dark spot, right there. That's
okay. I'm gonna mark that.
Yeah.
Put a crossing on here, and we're gonna add that to your application.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for bringing up the pipe. So that gave me that thought. I didn't know what I could do right here, and I'm glad you guys are out here to help me in that area. So we just had a big drought, a major drought really in the state from the beginning of July until all into the fall. We didn't get any rain. So I had been utilizing these 2 ponds to water the cattle, and these ponds are 70 years old plus, probably. I inherited these when I bought the place, and they were old then. And this one has a major leak in behind the levee, and this particular one just has silted in from the water moving down through the place. And I read that we could actually have these ponds redone.
Yes, sir.
So I really need that water, particularly in late fall, if we're getting into an area where we may be having some droughty seasons coming up. So that one and this one right here, a small one right here that needs to, they went just completely dry this fall. And we had to move the cattle into an area that we really didn't want to move them into, just to be sure they could get water from some existing water troughs that I got through NRCS. So Natural Resource Conservation Service has been good to me in helping me get some stuff done, but I just would like to improve the place as I want to now utilize the entire place for the grazing, prescribed grazing.
So I want to ask, so when we fence this off and everything, you plan on having cows on this side and this side, right?
Yes.
Okay, so what we can do is we can try putting a trough or something out here as well, because you're gonna need water facilities. I see you have one here, and we get this pond together, you have one there and a water facility there. But we're gonna have to have some, I'd say about one maybe right out here, a water facility right out there, because it's only so many feet, that we like to have a water so many feet from where they're walking and grazing and different things.
That would be good. So that sure would be helpful in terms of getting these calves, utilizing the forages better when we have water distributed throughout the place there.
Now, another practice, just to interject, you have heavy use areas where you have your watering and feeding zones. And we're looking at a sloping topography, and you want to make sure you don't have runoff going down slope from where you're feeding and watering locations are.
Right.
So would you incorporate that with your planning process?
Well, yeah. If we have a sloping issue, then we would basically maybe try and build it so we can get that water to diverge onto another way, or maybe a runoff into a ditch or something like that. But Well, just having this watering facility here, we would put a HUA there because of those type of things, and you don't want your cows coming in messing up the ground. So we would definitely have that concrete slab, so any water that's running that way, it wouldn't be able to get on top or damage that.
Yeah. And two of the things I'm proud of that NRCS advises, and two of the recommended resource concerns that we have noticed in the state of Mississippi is water quality and water quantity.
Right.
And like this past year, we had that drought. So Mr. Jackson just explained about the need for water quantity and having it available to his livestock during that time period. So when we try to incorporate new practices, we want to be mindful of what the history taught us, and in order to that we might improve upon the future implementation of the practices. And also water quality. And we just talked about the runoff, and we want to minimize that opportunity for water to go somewhere it does not need to go. So we're looking at it, and we really appreciate that being described in the plan here today.
Oh, yes, sir. And again, we appreciate, you know, you guys asking, have us come out, because we give free technical assistance. So, you know, we appreciate, you know, because we have a lot of people, they try to do a lot of things themselves, you know, without the technical assistance, and then it messes up or it's not done right, and then they'll end up coming to us ultimately anyway to try and fix it. So like I tell people all the time, just, you know, our door's always open, or you always call and we'll help out. We'll come out and look. We actually come out, we'll walk the land with you and everything, give you all full technical assistance, whether you get a plan through us or not, or apply with us or not, we still give that technical assistance. And it's just because we're all about helping the land. It's all about helping the soil, the animals, the air, the water. You know, that's what NRCS is all about. So
yeah, we're here today as up in farms working with Mr. Jackson here. He invited us on his farm and said we would like to come out and have just a visit, and then get some footage and just his own personal description of what his concerns and desires are, and his future projections are. And then we, in concert with the agency, with Mr. Jackson, the landowner and producer, we think we could come up with a good workable solution for all the concerns that he may have. So one of the things we want to do today is also it's an educational piece here that we may capture and be able to share it with others that might have some of the same issues on their farms or operations. And with that, we just looking at a whole composite, comprehensive plan and investigation inventory here today with y'all, in order to that we could address this and be able to give him the right recipe and the right solution or recommendations, which he has a vast amount of experience himself now. But at the same time, all the information collectively, what we bring from our purview as a partnership to assist him in the agency, USDA, under Mr. Kurt Reedus, the state conservationist, down to the field offices, then we can come up with minimizing the impacts of all the resource concerns that smaller, limited resource operations encounter. So that is one of the key pieces we want to emphasize today, that we are here to try to explore and help identify conditions out on the landscape that other land users, producers might have the same problems on their operation. And then we can help highlight or bring recognition to those concerns and let them know where to come find help. And find help is at the field office located in?
The field office is located right here in Lexington, up on Highway 12, right across from the John Deere, the Ag Up building. So right across from there, we have FSA and NRCS in the same building. So, because basically if you're a new farmer, you're gonna have to get your records established with FSA first. They're gonna give you a farm number and a track number, and then you come on right on over to us next door, and that's when you can apply for anything, you know. But that's the number one step. You got to do that first to get your records established, because if you don't have any records, we can't pull any maps, we can't, you know, different things like that.
My question would be, talking about distance to watering, Mr. Liddell, is what is the significance or what is the importance of distance for livestock to get good water, drinking water?
Okay, so like you said, it would be grazing distribution, better grazing distribution, and just think about it. We like to think about the animals kind of like ourselves almost. You know, if you out here in the sun all day walking around, you don't want to have to walk 2-3 acres to get a drink of water. So, you know, we it's a minimum. We have a minimum of 800 feet. You know, where we would put water, so those cows can, you know, when they're grazing over here, they might have a water facility right up here on your front gate. And okay, so about 800 feet at the least 800 feet back, they will be able to go, you know, keep walking. They will be able to get another drink. You know, and it's just kind of better on the cows, better on your land. You know, the more they can move around and graze certain areas, and the more they have to drink, you know, the better we can, because we need them to graze. We're going to need them to graze the land and rotate them, and that way your grass can grow better, you know, thicker, healthier, you know. So it's just, it all plays a part, you know. It's all just coincide with each other on that.
Yeah. Well, now would that impact the growth potential and health of the animal by having water available in a close proximity, as far as the growth and potential, as far as the weight that a cow will be able to put on in a certain amount of time, and water availability and the distance to water, then how would that impact the bottom line as far as a livestock herd?
Meaning having the 800 feet or whatever? Is that what you're asking?
Well, the distance to water, that's energy being utilized by that livestock, by that animal. Okay, but the less distance they have to walk, then the more opportunity they have to retain that weight and then still be able to get the water that they need in order to
well, see, I mean,
use that energy.
When you, I mean, like I said, you're gonna want to rotate them.
Right.
So you're gonna want them to move around. You don't want to just keep them in one area, because you only, like I said earlier, you only can let them eat down to about 2 inches, really 3 inches. You want to move them off there. So, okay, with that being said, if we have them up here, let's say for example we got them up here in the front. All right, yeah, they have water here, they're eating and everything, and cows are gonna naturally move anyway, you know, trying to find better grass, or, you know, more plentiful grass or different things. So when they are moving around, you don't want them to have to come way back up here for water, so you have water there, because they're going to do that on their own. So it's not more so of forcing them to, you know, move to try and, you know, cut down their weight or anything. It's just they're going to do it, and you want to have water at each spot for them. Basically just have like a little water fountain. Basically, you know, like when we walk around in town, you got a water fountain here, you know, it's just I can get me a drink and go back to it.
So what I'm understanding from the conversation that's going on, that if I'm able to keep the distance relative to maybe 800 feet, that my cattle are going to be more efficient, that they are going to be able to graze and utilize the entire field. Plus, they're going to keep their weight on. I read that beef cows use about 15 gallons of water in peak summer, 15 to 20 gallons, just depending on the temperature, basically. And so, if they are able to get that 15 gallons from this spot that we're talking about, then they're able to utilize this field and possibly this field the same, because it's probably not 800 feet from here, from this fence to that. Right. And they would get pretty close over there. So I think that's a good formula to keep the cattle hydrated, basically, and also to improve the efficiency of the cattle, particularly the young calves. That's what I'm selling.
Right.
So if they can get in and get fresh water, clean, cool water, I think they would drink more of it to start with, and also improve their weight gain.
Right.
To me, that's money in my pocket.
Exactly, and that's more so with the whole, just putting those different watering facilities within those. That's the benefit of it. You know, if you got them here, they can drink, they can do everything just like you were saying. And when it's time to rotate them, they'll have water facilities here, they'll have it here. You know, just having different water facilities, because they won't walk, you know, the whole thing to get water, because it's going to be sectioned off. Right. So they'll have water in this section. When they're moved, they'll have water in the next section. That's the, you know, the whole point of just putting another water facility here. So when he moves them over here, they'll have a fresh drink.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. And last but not least, I have a problem in this backfield. I don't know why, but I have a problem with cypress weed, oak weed. I have some broadleaf weeds that I get into this pasture, and you can see from the map that looks like they get pretty dense in some areas. And what's the agency's feeling about offering assistance in controlling these weeds in these two pastures back here in the back?
Yeah, well, we definitely do a herbaceous weed treatment. So when our landowners come in and have that problem, we'll always put weed treatment on your applications, and we're going to put it on your plan, because having cows, I like to say they're kind of bougie, you know, because they it's only certain things they like to eat. Correct. You know, even if it's a hay bale, if you got bad hay, they don't want to eat that, you know. So you don't want those weeds in there because cows don't like it, and they're not going to graze as much, and you're going to have to rotate them too fast. Basically, you would have to rotate them too fast to the next, and this one won't have much grazing. And let's say you just got them out of this one, so this one is still pretty low. Right. So you know, we're gonna do the weed treatment, so you just have nice grass coming up, you know, so they'll have just plenty to eat, and they won't be too discouraged on eating it. I see. Basically.
I see. So this whole place, this is 20.62 and 28. That's almost 50 acres in this box. In these two fields combined. Is there a limit in terms of how much we could apply for here if we're able to get assistance, or is it just kind of open to the?
Well, down here in Mississippi, we don't go by acreage, so we could do your whole farm, you know, your whole land basically.
Well, my problem is here, so I'm gonna restrict the.
So yeah, we're gonna do the treatment on this whole part right here. Our planner, I would make sure to tell him, because if I don't tell him, our planner would just put weed treatment all over. Okay. You know. Okay. So I make sure to tell him that just this section is where it's most needed. Right. But yeah, like I said, we don't have a acreage cap here in Mississippi, so we could help out with that all over. But like I said, that was new to me coming from Georgia, because everything was an acreage cap just about in Georgia.
I understand. Well, that's good. If I can get help, some incentive here, then certainly if it helps me there, then as a land manager, I should be able to maintain these areas from this day forward. I would hope so anyway. And if I do need assistance, then certainly I want to be able to get back with y'all. Yes, these are not the only practices that I have right now. Right. But they are the ones that I'm ready, willing, and able to do if I was able to, get into the EQIP program to do that. Are there any other programs that might help me on this farm right now?
On this farm, as I ride around, I look for more resource concerns, but you pretty much hit the nail on the head with the fencing. Right off the rip, I see fencing would be very beneficial to you. And then renovating those ponds, as far as having other water facilities, and you don't have to go and try to get a well and different things like that, because that would just be more money. But like I said, I ride around and I look for other resource concerns or anything else, because that's our main goal when we come out to people's lands. We're looking for resource concerns. We have to have that conservation eye, just to find anything that's helpful. Like I said, it's all about helping the soil, the air, the wind, the water. That's our concern.
Yeah. Yes, I appreciate your willingness to help me with a conservation plan for my entire farm.
Yes, sir.
I really appreciate that. As an engineer, as you look at what we're talking about, do you see any opportunities out here that I missed or we missed that we might need to address?
No, the only thing that I was just thinking about is this is like woodland, right there, right through here?
That's a wooded, what that is really is an old road bed.
Oh, okay.
And on both sides of it, there are some trees that have grown up on that road bed, but right in here, it's where there's an old gate.
Okay.
And the cattle just have been going back and forward in that gate for 30 years.
Right.
And they have just ate it down to about 2.5 feet, really, when you stand in that hole there. And it's
that's not good for them.
I was just making sure it's not a wetland or anything, because we have specifications that we can't like do with wetlands. We have to go get requirements and things like that.
Right, right.
Yeah, certainly. You can see that portions of this land is highly erodible because of the lower in Memphis, and so that's why we're restricted to grazing.
Right.
And I appreciate you bringing that up right there. So we try to keep it within the compliance anyway.
Yeah, exactly. But from perspective, I mean, you said you have your pipe. We're gonna go look at it, and I'll make my assessment when we get over there. Can't really see it from the map. And then, like you said, your pond over here is leaking. We'll just look at it, and we'll try to see what's going on with it, and make sure we can help with that in any kind of way. But other than that, I don't see anything else.
And I just wanted to touch on that HUA you want it right here. So the HUA that you want to hear, would that be just as far as a pad you want to put some hay rings on, or a trough, or just
it just would be an area of what we're feeding on, right?
Okay, okay.
So when we get back there, you can see the mess we've made trying to feed on the ground.
Yeah.
And you will see that right off. And if we're able to get a feeding pad in here, that's where we'll, typically this is where we winter the cattle back here in this field, a sacrifice area basically. Yeah. But we winter them back here, and if we could get a feeding pad, it sure would help some of the bogging.
Yeah, we can get you a concrete pad right there with some rebar in it, and it'll stop the ground from like just eating up the grass and stuff. So
right, because the thing about cows, you gotta have. It's good that people put their feeding facilities on HUAs, because cows, as we know, they're lazy. So they'll come up and they'll be eating, and they'll just stay in that area. They'll lay down or whatever, wallowing in that area, and it just messes up the whole area. So you put on that concrete pad, they'll eat and everything. They ain't gonna want to stay up there too long, they don't like it on their hoofs, so they'll leave off and come back, and that's what you're gonna want. And
it's easier for the farming aspect to put the hay bales on top of it and just
come through, and because you're gonna have to brush it off.
Right.
Well, it's February 12th, and we got some rain, so I know there's significant bogging right here, and we'll see that when we go back there.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I appreciate y'all for coming and sharing the map with us, and we certainly want to sign up for all of these practices that we talked about, and just see where we go from there.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, I'll go first. I'm Cody Davey. I'm a civil engineer. I graduated from LSU, and I went to rural development, and I was liking it there. And then I went from rural development to USDA NRCS, and so I graduated college. I was in USGS, which is United States Geological Service, and then I went to USDA Rural Development, which we did countless things over there. And then I was liking it, but I wanted to get my professional engineering license, so I transferred from there to the NRCS Mississippi, and trying to get my PE, my professional engineering license. Right now, I'm fairly new, so I'm just trying to get like everything on the basics side coming up. So, but what I've learned so far is that like grade stabilization structures, just mainly just a bunch of the engineering aspects of what you would think farmers would need. So, I mean, that can be a lot of things, like if their ponds like leaking, we're gonna go look at that. So we would just make sure like where it's coming from, what can we like do a drop pipe, do any kind of pipe structure, like to fix the issue and stuff. So I come out as like a field tech also, and just kind of like make sure that whenever we go see a pond, or whenever we go to a sloping grade that's just eroding, that we just make sure that we follow all our practice and guidelines to like make sure that they are suited and that they are capable of getting the control they need and the structural help that they need. So this particular farm, didn't know coming into it because I didn't look at the map before, but as we were talking about it just a second ago, that the pond that is leaking, we need to do something with that, because you can't have leaking water. That's going to cause erosion. That's going to cause many other issues. And then he has that pipe blowout that we have to go look at. I want to just make sure what kind of blowout it is, where it's at, where is it leaking to, where's all the concerns that for this particular issue. So, and then I'll take that, and then I'll go back, I'll look at what we talked about, and I'll design some things and talk to my my other engineers about, my head engineers about what we can do for them. You're losing a lot of head loss in your water, so I mean that's terrible, because your cattle's not getting water. You could flood other people. You can erode like just the regular ground, and that's, I mean, we went and saw a site the other day that somebody else's land was eroding from a tree root, and then the person we were going to talk to, his land was eroding because of their land. So it would cause concerns between multiple people if it gets bad enough. So the leaky pond, I mean, I haven't personally looked at it, so I'm gonna have to go actually look at it, but I'm sure I'm sure the cattle aren't getting the water that they needed to get. I'm sure that,
which would be the main problem here on this farm, that for the cattle.
Right.
It's one less watering facility, you know. And as he was saying, the erosion, you know, tearing through your soil, you know, messing up your grounds. Let's say a cow steps in and break his ankle, you know. So.
And erosion can be like something small, and then next day it can erode 30 foot higher, and like
it always starts with a little, and like if you go to the tree line and you see all those big breakers, drop offs and everything, that started from a little, that's where it starts, a little erodible stream, and it just grows, it tears, it's just eating down the inside. So it will come from a little erosion line to a big gully, you know. Yeah. So
I mean, it just depends on temperature and rain and everything, but
and how bad your problem is.
I mean, typically in the southern states like Mississippi, it erodes pretty fast. I would say a couple weeks it can grow a couple feet. So
especially with this rain.
Yeah.
Which, you know, Mississippi just had a bad drought, so I know most of the farmers, they're happy about this rain.
Right.
But yeah, it's a good and bad thing, you know, all this rain, because like I said, all that rain, if you, let's say with the leaking pond, if it's more water going in, let's say, and the leak is getting bigger, now you have more water flowing through faster. So it's gonna turn it, like I was saying, that little strip, that water coming through faster is pushing it out. It's growing, you know. Right. So that would be a big problem, you know, and it could create sinkholes, and that's a worse problem, you know.
Right. And that's mainly just the pond. And if you go to that pipe burst, then I mean, that can also cause erosion. That can, like I said, flood somebody's farm or flood somebody's house or anything like that. And if it's big enough, it can cause some serious damage.
A blowed out pipe is a huge problem, you know. That's why we need our engineer here to come and take a look so he can form that design. Because the way we do it, it's highly unlikely that it'll blow out, you know. Of course, over time, you know, it'll happen years from now, but it's highly unlikely that it'll just, because like the way we do things, you're gonna have a concrete front on it to keep everything in, you know. So it's like, and a lot of people that try to do it themselves, they dig the holes and they put the pipes, but they don't really put it down in that concrete to hold it. So if you get enough water coming through, it just push it right out, you know. I am Reginald Liddell II. My role here, I'm the soil conservation technician for Holmes County. So basically my role would be, when you would come in and apply, I would come out and take a look, you know. I would just, if you just call us with, hey, yeah, I want y'all to come take a look at something, I would come out and give technical assistance on what I'm looking at, what I'm seeing, you know. And like I said, I have to have that conservation eye. So when I come out here, a farmer might know, oh, I got a leaking pond, but I might also see where he needs fencing or he needs this or that, you know. So it's like I would put all that in on the application. I would tell that farmer, yeah, you need this, you know. And of course, it's always up to the farmer what he wants to do, if he wants to turn anything down, but most times they're not going to turn it down because it's going to help him out in the ranking. So that's what I would do. I would just come out and give that technical assistance, and then I would come back out after, while you're implementing and after, and I would take pictures to make sure you did it correctly, you did it, you know, to our standards and specs, and I would, you know, just report back and, okay, it's a go. And when I give that okay, we'll send the money. You know, we'll click that button to send the money out to you, you know. So out here on this property, I've actually been out here a couple of weeks ago, and he showed me his problems, and I had to set this because right now he has an application in, and it's getting time for us to, it's getting to that deadline where we have to have those in. So I came back out to get it circled on the map where he wanted, exactly where he wanted things, and you know, and like today, when we talked a few weeks ago, some things he didn't say the stream crossing or the HUA in the middle. So coming out here, you know, him having that problem, and him, you know, me being out here to see it, and I could write it down, and I could add that to the application. So as far as right now, okay, I've marked it on the map and everything. So my next step would be to take it back to the office and give it to either my soil con or my district conservationist, and they'll form a plan. They'll write up a plan, implementing practices for everything that he has, every concern that he has out here. And like I said, we'll assess and rank that plan. And he'll get a ranking number, and that ranking number is going to go on up to the state, because all our programs basically is cost share. You know, they give us so much money to spend within the whole state. So that's why we tell people all the time, it's like a lottery. There's no guarantee that you're going to get in. You know, it's a chance, 50-50. And if you get in, you'll be funded. You know, if not, you could just defer your application to the next year. And, you know, instead of just having to come and reapply, just defer it. Just, oh yeah, push it to next year. Or if you feel like you don't want to do it, you just tell us, I'm good, and we'll cancel it out. So that would be the next step. So I came out, you know, me and Mr. Jackson took a look at the map. First, we had to get turned around to basically what we're seeing on the map, put our eyes in a way that it is out here, the landscape out here. So when we take a look at basically, okay, I circled the things that I knew he wanted from the start. He had already told me, so I circled those. And as he looked, he just looked down and he had questions about certain things, and that's when I told him, okay, we could help with that. We could pay for that, you know, or in certain things I didn't know, I told him, let me just get with my DC and find out, and I'll let you know, because I don't ever want to give the wrong guidance. And like I said, I just transferred to Mississippi, so things are a little different from how it was in Georgia. But so basically that's what it is. I'm coming out, I'm looking for resource concerns. Anything that you might not see, I may see, you know. So that's what I'm looking for. How can we help Mr. Jackson? How can we help with his soil? How can we help with his air quality? How can we help with his water quality? And ultimately, how can we help his cattle? That's the main goal out here on this farm, is to help his cattle. The cross fencing is a huge resource concern I see. He needs cross fencing badly, so he can rotational graze with his cows, you know, because we're very particular on the soil, you know, and we don't want it to get so low. So if you don't have cross fencing, your cows will walk wherever they want, and they'll eat however much, you know, as much as they can. And with them having short teeth, they can't eat very low. So like I said, the cross fencing comes in because we rotate them. That way they have high grass to eat on, and then you move them somewhere and have other high grass. You don't have to try to gnaw down to the ground, you know. So that's the #1 resource concern that just caught my eye. It could act as an erosion prevention, but it won't if you have like the leak in the pond. It won't be that much of a provision with that leak, because your water is continuing. So it's like, if it's something we can get in front of, then okay, you have a little leakage from that, okay, it will slow it down, it will stop it. But what we want to do is stop those leaks, because the grass can only do so much, you know. Like I said, when you have cows eating on it, it brings it down even more. Well, it's very helpful, very, very, very helpful that he has knowledge of what's going on, and he's able to kind of cut down a he could cut down a 3-hour field visit to maybe an hour, you know. When you know what you're looking at and you know what you have going on, it's very helpful. And guys like Mr. Jackson, I love to work with because they're able to take technical assistance and also, you know, help you out for things you don't see. Like I say, with him having that background, if my eye didn't catch certain things, he could, and he would see it. He would, oh, I want to ask about this, and that's okay, I didn't see that. Now let's, you know, I can work on that, you know. So I like working with guys like him because we do have a lot of people that they just take word from someone. Someone says, oh, you can get money for this, so they'll come in, oh, I want money for this, and it don't work like that, you know. It's certain things you gotta have or don't have to get in certain programs, you know. So it's always great to work with someone like Mr. Jackson for sure. He definitely could help out a lot with their Holmes County, helping out a lot of these farmers for sure. He could give a lot of guidance on that. If he needs a job, you know, we got a couple of positions. My story is a little different from most people that work for the agency. Okay, my father and my mother both they started with, my dad is still with NRCS to this day, from college all the way up to now. My mom, she started with NRCS back in the 90s, and she moved over to rural development. So both my parents are USDA, they both have that background. So I grew up seeing it all the time. Never in a million years thought I would be here. I just didn't see it. I was into hunting and different things like that, so I always wanted to be a game warden. But moving, I was working in security and everything, and I had moved in Minnesota, and I moved back to Mississippi to take care of my grandmother. And she passed away. I moved to Georgia. So I was back doing security, bar security, private security, different things, and it's just, my life was not going how I wanted to go. So basically, my parents, they always told us, hey, try to get with the agency. You got technician positions, you got direct hires. And I was just, So this point in my life, I kind of listened. I'm like, let me just see. So I put in my application and everything, direct hire. And I didn't expect, you know, it took so long. It takes very long to get on with the agency. So I just gave up on it. I'm like, oh, they ain't gonna hire me. You know, I'm moving. Then I got that call. And I was a little skeptical, I was a little, you know, I'd say just scared, I guess, not knowing it's new. And it moved me down to South Georgia, no family, nothing. And it was, in the beginning, it was a little depression going on and everything, but as I saw what we do, and I saw how much we help the farmers and landowners, and how much that help could mean to them, you know, it's just, I was like, wow, you know, I like this. You know, I started to like it. So I'm going to trainings all over Georgia, different things, and learning the job more. And I fall in love with it. I fall in love with just being out here, you know, helping the land, you know, and helping the farmers. Like I said, I get a certain sense of gratification, which is just to see how, you know, how much what we do is a relief for them, you know. So that's what kind of just pulled me on in and just kept me in here, you know. And hopefully, you know, I'm just trying to get up to where my father is, at least, you know, as an assistant state conservationist, trying to get up that high, you know. And I'd be okay with that. I think I'd retire from that, you know. Oh, and I didn't mention it was a big transition for me because, like I said, I went to school for criminal justice, wanted to be a game warden. I went to Mississippi Valley for criminal justice. So I worked on my family's farm a little bit growing up, but I didn't really have the knowledge of, well, I knew what I was doing, but I didn't know what I was doing as far as knowing the names and knowing, you know, the benefits of what I'm doing. I just knew, okay, I got to go out here and help my granddaddy spray weeds, or, you know, helping out with our hogs, you know, different things like that. I didn't know, and getting into that and seeing it and now doing it, I look back and I'm just, you know, like I said, so because for so many years I could have made this my path, you know, but I'm happy to be here now, you know, better late than never, you know. It's just God's plan.
Oh, to explain what the practice is here and what's called in common terminology and just how it benefits your operation.
Oh, so Delaney, this particular practice right here is commonly referred to as a watering facility, but it consists of about 3 components, basically. the first one is called a pipeline. And so fundamentally what we do is we take a 1 inch, this is 1 inch PEX pipe.
Yeah.
And you can use also PVC, 1 inch, but we put a water line from the watering meter, so it's up there, all the way to here, and we put a black backflow device right there at the soil surface there to prevent the backflow from going. So the first part is the water line, which is the most important, the pipeline. So we have a pipeline, again, with 1 inch PEX. And then the next component of this facility is the heavy use area protection.
Yes.
So what the specifications call for at least 10 feet from the rim of this watering facility to in all directions to prevent the cattle from bogging, from getting, bogging. So we have 10 feet on each direction except for this particular direction because this facility is designed on the fence line.
Right.
When they are not designed on the fence line, then it would be 10 feet around the whole circumference of this particular watering facility.
Right.
Here we chose to use a medium-sized tank here, about 250-gallon tank right here. You can use bigger tanks if you like, but for this size pasture, we only use this particular one, and it has worked well. So the whole idea behind this is grazing distribution. Right. So as you can see, we have a watering facility here, and then the perimeter of this pasture is inside of the scope of less than 1,000 feet in pretty much any direction.
Right.
That way, cattle can come and utilize this particular trough. Now, ideally, we would like to have it in the center of the pasture, but because of the distance that we are moving the water, we put it the shortest distance possible, and we are hoping for a faster rotation in this area. Get the cattle in this small paddock, graze them for a week or less, move them out. Graze them half of the forage that's left, and we move them out. So we don't use this paddock for an extreme long periods of time, but we do use it often. We graze it for a week or so, get half the forage out, move the animals off this particular field back to another adjacent field, and then once we do that, we allow these forages to grow back. And when they're back 8 inches or so, we move the cattle back in here and let them graze that out again. So the whole idea is to provide fresh, cool drinking water, clean drinking water to the livestock versus the pond. We had an old pond site. As you can see, there's a group of trees where the pond has silted in, some 60, 70-year-old pond back there, and we decided to just break the lid on that pond and create fresh, clean drinking water for our livestock, and they prefer this particular water.
Yes, that's what I was going to ask. Now, is this suitable water for the mama and the
calves?
Baby calves?
Yes. So newborns, of course, wouldn't be able to drink from this tall fountain, but a calf a month old or older are able to drink from here. Very suitable for both cow and calf in this particular pasture here. Typically speaking, early spring is when we get the best utilization of this particular pasture, and we have cows and calves in here, and they tend to get along just fine, just fine with it.
Yes, and the agency provides the tank and the water line and installation. What assistance that you get provided in the installation application of this unit? So
the first assistance I got was the technical assistance that they provided to us. The conservationists came out and we had a conversation about the lack of water, and my concern was the old pond drying up, basically. That was my initial concern.
Alternative.
But as he came out and started to talk to me about alternatives, we came up with the idea together about putting a watering facility here.
Yeah.
And so that was, you know, very pleasing to me to do that. So we moved forward with that. And I was able to get financial assistance for the pipeline, for the trough and tank here, for the float valve that's connected right here that manages the amount of water in here, keep it from overflowing, and for the heavy use area, the concrete area. Now, in some parts of the state and some farmers choose to use a gravel pad for their heavy use area protection, where they use a geotextile and crushed limestone on top of that. They work fine. They work fine. But for me and my desires, I chose to use the concrete because I wanted to cut down on the operation and maintenance, the maintenance part of it. You know, the gravel pads, you have to get in there and maintain them a good bit. This one has been here a year, one season, and I have not had to do much maintenance to it. You know, you can see we're getting some weeds around it because in the fall we did not cut them, you know, back, of course, but we'll move those back and put our temporary fence back, and we'll have the cattle grazing in this area here this spring.
That's a good idea to enhance your operation and the application and make it more feasible, because I think at one time, if you had some water source, if you had a farm pond and it was your water source, then the water in the trough, it was not eligible. How did that work, if you can recall back in the day, and what has changed since then?
Yeah, see, I've been farming this place a little over 30 years now.
Yeah.
And when I first bought this place, it had a few old ponds on it, and that was it. There was no fresh water anywhere, very few cross fence. This place was actually cropped. As you can see, there's some terraces out in some of the fields out here where the place has been cropped a little bit. So the place was actually cropped. And because of conservation concerns, the best use for this land is forages, basically. And so we basically planted forages all over this farm and began to try our hand at the beef cattle operation. So that's kind of how we started. And when we initially started, you know, I was privileged to be an extension agent. And I had a close relationship with the people at Farm Service Agency and USDA Natural Resource Conservation Service. And so I was able to go in and apply for practices to begin to improve the efficiency of this particular place. You know, we were running, you know, 72 cattle when I first got the place. And we were able to run those cattle, but we wasn't doing it efficient. You know, so we decreased in our numbers over the time because of some unforeseen circumstances, and then we came back and started to build back to close to that number now as we started to grow back into the cattle operation. This water is going to be vital, extremely important, as we begin a speedier rotation through this entire place and using the whole place. So,
And one of the advantages about it, Walter, is you know, never over fields and places water on the ground, and then when the cattle get ready to water, they don't trot down the area, because like I say, you have a heavy use area, you have a slab, but at the same time, it eliminates water waste and water usage, and also it helps environmentally by having this trough installed.
You are exactly right. There's some environmental benefits from it for sure. You know, on any given day, you might come out and you might catch a fawn and his mother drinking, you know, from this trough. The cattle again love it, and it's just better, you know. There's no bogging around here. You know, when cattle get into an area, they defecate and urine in that area, bog it all in, and so you have a mess, you know, and calves that have been castrated or newborns with their navel cord still fresh can get into those bacterial areas and just have a problem starting, disease starting to fester up in those areas, get infections started. And it's just best to have areas like this where they can come in, get a drink of water. This concrete is hard and not really comfortable for them on their hooves.
Right.
But they can come in and get some water and move off of this area. You know, we don't want them to loaf around here a lot. So they'll drink the water, they'll move back to softer ground, and you know, have a pleasant life, so to speak.
That's it.
Happy cows.
Happy cows. And I think we are tackling several environmental potential concerns right here with these two practices, water troughing and the heavy use area. It's helping to improve and sustain water quality, and it's also helping efficiency in water use and management. So at the same time, your livestock are getting healthy water. They're not getting water that's basically from your ponds where you have other bacteria in it that they have to ingest and may cause other health problems. And also, in addition to that, you having a use of the water supply. You get water from the municipal water sources, and that in turn prevent the agency from having to invest in a well, because just depending on your district or your area, you need to inquire about what my water supply is, what are my opportunities to utilize water on my farm operation.
Yes.
And that helps in an economics way, and plus that helps you as a producer, as a farmer, a landowner.
Right, right. Well, wells are important. Some farmers need them.
Yeah, right.
In this situation, we are close to community water and right along the main highway here, so we're able to make use of the community water, here in order to get the cattle, drinking water, fresh water. Some farmers need wells, and they are important, to those farmers that need it. But in this case, I really didn't need one, and so we making a go of this community water here.
Exactly, and it's meeting your needs.
It is.
Because it's helping with your farming operation.
It is.
And we look forward to being able to utilize this as a example of what can be on an area that you might see that is in need of the right facilities in order to have a productive, successful livestock operation.
Right, right. The big piece is the grazing distribution. Water is important, definitely. Yeah. They need the water. But being able to utilize the forages in this field was critical to me.
Right. Yeah.
And to improve the performance of the cattle, and just to we're about forage farmers, or cattle farmers are about growing and using grass. Using the forages that are available to us.
Yes, right.
And when we can use those forages efficiently by having a strategically placed watering facility, it helps all of us.
Yeah, water is life. And one other question about the slab, the dimensions and the thickness, is that a requirement, and how does that work as far as the placement?
So the minimum requirements are 4 inches, 4 inches thick. And you want to be 10 feet away from the rim of the facility itself.
Okay.
Now this may be 13 feet that way, and 13 feet all around in order to accomplish that 10 feet minimum.
Right.
But as a farmer, I went an extra step, so I may be 15 feet, from the minimum, and we may be 6 inches here. Now, the agency don't pick up the cost for that.
Right. Yes.
They provide some financial assistance for me to follow their minimum standards. And so, as a farmer, I went an extra step to ensure that I wouldn't have any problems. So some farmers will do that, some won't. What's designed is designed to work.
Yeah.
I just wanted a little additional insurance.
Basically. Right, good. And is there any follow-up from the agency, or the maintenance and the life of the unit here? Is that explained in the at the time of installation or the time of eligibility? How was that information conveyed to you, and what time frames like I say, the livelihood of the operation of the system here?
Yes, it definitely is. So once I'm approved for a certain practice, the agency gives me a copy of my plan. And in that plan is an operation and maintenance schedule, basically, or for each practice that goes on this farm. Tells me exactly, what I'm supposed to do, how I'm supposed to keep the facility done, basically all the things that are important to do to keep this watering facility working for the life of the practice. So we're expecting for this facility here to last us, upwards of 10 years.
10 years.
So we're expecting for that to happen, and so far, we're about a year and a half into the process, and it looks like it's practically new to me. So cattle did not hurt it last season at all. Got a dent or ding on it, but other than that, they have not hurt it at all.
Okay. Well, that sounds good, man, and I'm glad to see you take advantage of those practices that the agency provides, and it seems like it's helping sustain and improve and making sure you have a quality operation here.
Well, good. That's our goal, is to just be efficient.
That's it.
Be efficient. Fundamentally, my intentions is to put a cross fence down this alleyway, Delaney, and when we put the cross fence through here, we're going to be dividing this paddock from this paddock.
And the same use?
Same use. We're just able to better control the cattle on a smaller field than these bigger fields. We put them on this 30 acres, and then what we find is when they graze, they typically not uniform. They leaving too much. So what I want to do is cut down on that forage that's left. I want them to graze half and leave half. That's my formula.
That's it.
And what I'm ending up having to do is have them graze 40%, or either graze 70% and leaving 30, and that's not good. Not good for the land, not good for the forages. So what I want to do is put a fence through here, and then be able to maintain a certain number of cattle on this side in order for them to graze it down to a desired height, and then move those cattle over here on this paddock so they can graze this, and while they are grazing here, I move them back over there, and by the time a couple of months pass by, this forage has come back to a reasonable height, so we can get back in and put them back in on fresh forages, basically. So the idea is to run the fence from the adjacent fence down there across all the way to the highway, and when we do that, we're going to be able to separate these two pastures and give me better control of my cattle and better control of the forest utilization there.
Now, I heard you say at one time, Walter, that if you're a good grazing grassland expert, you're a grassland expert first, and then the livestock benefit will measure up, because first of all, you tending to your grasses, you're tending to the health of your paddocks, and then thereby you will improve your herd by the quality of your grasses.
That's true. That's the whole goal. Cattle are designed to use forages. And what I want to do is use as much forage as possible to cut down on having to feed concentrates, or to cut down on having to feed grain, or having to feed through the winter months. So if I'm able to use forages and store forages that I don't use, and then feed those forages to the cattle in the winter time, in the heart of the winter time, then I can cut down on the amount of grain that I'm actually feeding. So the whole goal is to feed very little grain. So in that way, I can use different forages, different summer forages and winter annuals in order to complete that cycle. But there's a period of time where I can't do that. So in that period of time, we have to feed. Other than that, during the time when the grass is growing, I want to use every blade that I can use. And that's the goal, and that's what these fences are going to do. Is help me use that forage like
help you manage your grazing land a whole lot more efficient. And cutting back on the additional surplus grasses or hays that you would need in the harder time when it's cold season, then it will minimize, it will cut back on that time, and that will be a cost saver to you as a livestock producer, because you're utilizing what's naturally grown on the ground and not having to bring in other cut material or any type of grain to harvest you through that season when nothing is available on the ground. Well, this is part of your grazing land area. I know you hay it also, and your future plans are at least to maintain some permanent cover, and you have a diversity of, if you look close, you have diversity of species. You have your grass, and then you have some under storage, which is also green cover, has rooting. But explain just what the surface is doing to improve the soil itself, and also the protection of the soil, and how does that translate into a grazing land area?
Okay, so we here in say early February 12th, early to mid-February here, and what we're looking at is we've been blessed with a week of warm weather. So we're starting to see some things happen in our forages that we like. And so this field itself is fundamentally Bahia grass with a little bit of Bermuda grass in it. So it's a Bermuda Bahia mix. And those are the forages that grow in this area, that grow well in this area. So that's what we try to use and feed cattle with. But if you look closer, you will see that we have some clover coming up. You know, our clover is beginning to take part here. Now this right here is crimson clover. Yeah. So you can see the fuzz on the leaves and that kind of thing. Yeah. So this is crimson clover coming up, and you can see it's starting to really come into here thick in this particular pasture. Another legume that's important that people overlook is the vetches that grow. This is a hairy vetch that's starting to come up, and these winter forages that come up, or early season forages come up, really are beneficial to the cattle. Right. So if you look out across the landscape, you see cattle starting to graze, they're starting to get away from the hay bales. Right. They're grabbing this clover and these vetches that are coming up in the place. Right. Now, what are they doing? You know, you have the warm season grasses, the Bahia grass, and I'm gonna try to pull some up here, and you can see that it's already starting to turn green. We're already starting to get some growth, some generation coming from these grasses, and that's good. That means that our season is beginning to start. But these Bahia and Bermuda grasses are going to benefit from the clover, because this clover makes nitrogen. Right. The vetches make nitrogen. The legumes in here are going to make nitrogen, and that's going to cut down on my nitrogen bill, basically. Right. And so when they make nitrogen and they start to die out, like in June and July, then they leave some residual nitrogen for these summer forages to grab and grow. Right. So I can cut back on the nitrogen applications and save that money and use the residual nitrogen that the clovers and the other forages give us.
You're telling me this is a soil health component where you have a cover that was sustained during the cool season, that had live roots still in the ground, that was still allowing microbial activity to take place and perform their duties in order to process and make nitrogen available for the warm season. Right. Man, that's awesome.
Exactly. This root is living, and you can see the clover growing in here. And fundamentally, what you have is green, even though it appears to be brown as we look across. It appears that the frost has got the grass and there's nothing growing out here, but underneath this is a whole different community of forages that are beginning to grow in there, and that's helping the soil health piece a lot. A lot. Now, we would ideally like to overseed this field with a winter annual to improve the carbon sequestration, you know. Right. And in the future, I'm going to do that.
Right.
But this particular year, we're just relying on this clover in this area here to do that. Now, we have overseeded a field over there that we're going to look at later, but right now, what we have is these bahayas and the clover starting to come in. And it really make a difference, because now we're starting to see the cattle get out and pick on this little clover coming up.
Right.
And we like that from that standpoint.
Yeah. And I also see where you had good vertical root penetration.
Yes.
That shows you have some good aeration, some good soil aggregation, where roots were able to penetrate down through the soil material, and be able to collect moisture even during the driest part of the year, where we had the latter part of last year, 2023, we had a major drought.
Right.
But at the same time, you still had life in the ground here, and you see it coming back now. You see we have rainfall, so that is a good sign that this soil, this ground, this pasture land is resilient, even indicative of drought limitations, no water for long periods of time, is still sustained.
Right.
So that's a real good note to really look at a healthy, sustaining grazing land system.
Right. And that's why I like the Bahia Bermuda mix. I don't really like monocultures in a pasture, because you're going to have drought issues that are going to come about. Right. And the Bahia grass is very drought tolerant.
Yeah. Okay.
Bermuda grass is a high profile grass. A lot of people like it because of its quality and growth habits, and that's good. But in the fall, we have an armyworm flush through this area. Yeah. And the fall armyworms will pretty much annihilate a Bermuda grass field if you don't treat it and spray it in time. So the Bahia grass is my saving grace to keep from having just a bare field, or a field that I have to come out and put a couple of applications of some insecticide on it in order to save the forages that are out there from the fall armyworm.
There you go. So multiple grass or diversity of grasses during the warm season is an advantage to any type of grazing land operation. You're going to have something to really keep the ground green. Okay.
Monocultures are beautiful, but not necessarily desired when you are trying to make a living off the forages that are growing. Right. And you're needing it every year, all year. Right.
And also you're looking at the ground scape, Walter, the surface, then the topography. Sometimes we overlook topography. Each little concave or little convex unit in the ground surface is going to create a different community, a microcosm of that type of plant. You're probably going to see more vetch populated, concentrated in one area. You might see more clover populated in another area.
Right.
So it's just that little bit of change in elevation and micro topography that makes a difference. But that's good for grazing land, because livestock, they need that diversity as just as much as the ground itself does. That micro topography is a good thing, not just have a smooth surface, uniform, but have some diversity in the contour of the surface topography of the land. That makes a difference in the diversity of the species that are populating in that area.
Right.
So that's a good soil health benefit there.
Right. Exactly. So we're just pleased that the environment, the weather's changed, and giving us a chance to get these forages up early.
Yeah.
Early, so we can be in here. 1st of April. I expect to be able to move some cattle in this place to take advantage of some of the clover, some of the vetches, some of the cool season forages that are just volunteered in this area, in this area to plant. Now, in some other pastures, I have interseeded clover. I actually planted the clover in those pastures with an NRCS practice, interseeding legumes. And depending on the year, depending on the rainfall, we might get a flush of clover and we may not. But when we do get a flush of clover, it really helps our cattle, really helps the cattle, really helps the soil, really helps the forages to regenerate.
Yes.
So the clovers, the legumes are so important.
So important. And the clover, that's an expense on the high end of your seeds that is on the more low end as far as the cost of planting clover versus vetch versus other type of grasses?
Right. Well, clover is pretty, you know, it's an expensive seed to purchase and sow. And what makes it so expensive is that it's not dependable every year.
Right.
Some years, in most years, you're going to get clover come up and do what it's supposed to do.
Right.
But some droughty years, or for some kind of conditions that we might get in the winter, we may not get the flush of clover coming up until we already have some forages starting to come up. Yeah. And some of the winter grasses that we have out here, we got some places where we got a little fescue growing in some places. We got some places where we might have some cheat growing, or some other winter forages that's starting to come up and sprout out here. Right. Cattle graze those things when they're young, you know, when they're tender. So you can look across here and you can see some green patches. All of these patches are not necessarily clover and vetch. Yeah. It may be some of the winter, what we call quote unquote weeds. but the cattle will eat those when they're young and tender, yeah. You know, and get some benefit from them. Yeah. So we use that,
yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and well, as far as your pH alignment requirements, do you follow a soil test requirements, or how do you go about managing that as far as the keeping the pH balance where it needs to be in order to have a healthy
right
farm?
So I break the place up into like 1/5. Okay. So I break it up into fifths, and what I will do is I will take this pasture and this particular pasture. So what I want the cattle to do is come in here and just bite, just grab,
yeah.
Just bite.
Yeah.
And they're going through here and they're just
yeah.
biting. You know,
yeah.
Just arbitrarily biting.
Then
when you open this up and you see this green material in here, yeah. And you can see there's some vetch and there's some clover and there's some voluntary ryegrass in here and some scratch factor old forages left. And cattle can digest this.
Yeah.
They can begin to perform
yeah.
with this even in this condition, even at this time of year.
That's it. They're a cocktail of multiple type of species in its diversity in their stages of growth and maturity, and some of it may be healthier than the others, but all of it is providing some form of nutrient fiber to this system, to the whole raw system. Correct. One thing I want to ask you about all this, your liming program. How do you go about determining you do a soil test annually, or you do a soil test through multiple years, and the pH that comes? What type of system have you determined that best suits your operation for a lime? So we try a group of things basically, and typically what we try to do is soil test this place once every 3 years. Every 3 years.
Okay, so in doing so, we believe that we can keep up with the pH and with the requirements that the fertility that the soil and the forages need. Yeah. And by doing it, I'm not able to lime and fertilize this entire place in one season. So I divide the place up into fifths, basically. Mm-hmm. So those 2 fields up on the hill, basically, will be the fields that I will treat with lime mm-hmm. this season. Mm-hmm. And then next year, these fields right in here, I will treat with lime. Yeah. The following year, the fields south of us, yeah. we'll treat those. And then behind that, we'll come back over here to this field. Yeah. And then we make our way back round in the 5th year, back over here. So every 5 years, yeah. I'm able to lime so many acres. Yeah. And what that will do is kind of go light on my pocket and also give me an opportunity to keep the place, relatively speaking, with a reasonable pH to grow forages right. here. Yeah. Now our natural pH is here about 5, you know. Yeah. And you know that's a long way from 6.5.
Optimum, yeah.
So we're trying to bring it at least 6.5 by putting just ag lime is what yeah. we've been using yeah. Here and following the soil test recommendations on most of the fields. Yeah. Now we're not able to follow the recommendations on soil tests on the pastures where the cows are actually grazing, but on the hay fields, yeah. we're following the recommendation for sure, because we find ourselves mining a lot of phosphorus and a lot of potassium out of right. those fields, and they right. really need that fertilizer in those times of year when you're really haying it, concentrating, really haying them. Hay in the area. So that's why one of the reasons I like to rotate my haying. We'll graze this area a little while longer this year, and then hay some of the areas that have not been traditionally hayed in order to just keep a balance out here in terms of where our nutrients are. So that's kind of what we've been doing with our lineman program.
And with that
5-year rotation.
5-year rotation. And with that staggering system, I'm thinking that, like you say, that benefits you economically, and also is a good management tool. Now, at the same time, you have pretty much one soil type that covers your whole farm, or you have multiple units, or you have a complex of soil types.
So we have a couple. There's a Memphis series kind of back in that area in the south part of the place there, and then we are on some lowering sickle loam up on this end here. So those two kind of close together in terms of how we manage them. So we kind of manage them the same, throughout the operation. We treat it all as one soil type basically, and just follow the soil test recommendations and do that. Lime and prices, man, lime is like $60 a ton to have it, delivered here. And then the spreading cost is going to be another $15, $20. So lime gets to be expensive. That's why we break it up into these 5 quadrants, not quadrants, but break it up into 5 areas.
And basically, in soil terminology, most of these surfaces are strongly acid naturally.
Yes.
So it will not be far from what your recommendation that you just described to be strongly consistent with the alignment program, because they both are similar in texture and in alkalinity acidity levels. Okay, another thing we're looking at is your potential. Do you drill it in? Do you apply it? How do you apply your lime when you do it?
We just broadcast it over the top.
Broadcast over the top.
Generally, it's an early spring or fall application. Whenever we can get the spreader buggy, we use our local farm supply stores for ag lime. And when we can get the equipment and the ground will hold the equipment, not so wet, then we put it out. So in another 2 or 3 weeks, we'll be putting lime out in this area up on the south side of the place.
And like you say, for your hayland, that's where you apply your liming program pretty much. Okay, then therefore it's going to be a timing of the year. What time of the year you normally prescribe the best time to apply your liming program?
Well, the best time to do it will probably be in the fall, the fall of the year, when so we can get, lime requires a bit of weathering so it can actually take effect, And so the best time will be in the fall of the year. But we can't always get the equipment that we need because we are in competition with the farmers in the Delta that's planting their cover crops and doing other stuff and need to have bigger acreage and need the equipment, It's more feasible for the farm supply store to work with a guy who has 1,000 acres and to work with a guy who only wants to do 50 acres, so they get priority, basically. But when we can get the bug in the machines and when I can afford it, that's kind of when we do it. So I just try to make sure that, we get it out in the spring, in between, say, October and May. I'm trying to put out the lime. Now the fertilizers, of course, we try to do split applications. We want to put some fertilizer out at green up, and then we want to come right after a hay cutting or right after a graze period and go back out and put a little bit more out there if we're going to do a pasture. But typically, we just fertilizing our hay fields, but we try to keep the whole place lime because where the cattle are grazing today may be a hay field this fall. Just depends on what kind of forages are left there.
That's it. Yep. And like I say, then that type of program, it really keeps your grazing land, your hay land, everything healthy for whenever you get ready to make that rotation, whenever you get ready to make that decision, your ground is suitable for that particular type of activity or application.
Yes.
Yeah, and we want to just really emphasize the importance of healthy soils, make healthy grasses, make healthy livestock, make healthy food, and it's a cycle that is really healthy, make a healthy environment. Also, the more lime requirements that you meet, the healthier the soil condition is. You already have your nitrogen that's going to, you just described with your vetch and clover, and you're just putting nitrogen back in the ground. Okay, so then the only application you would really consider then is your P and your K is your application. So that would be what you would concentrate on as an operator in order to be a good manager.
Right, right. And one of the indicators of having some health in the soil is when you can reach down in February, you know, in the 1st of February, and you can pull up these clovers and vetches and other things starting to grow in the soil.
Right. Yes.
That's an indicator to me that something is going on below ground, that's conducive to the production of these forages.
Right,
you know?
that's it.
And that's the beauty of it all.
That's it.
Is you see the benefits, you know, with your own eye. You don't have to do a soil test to see that you have some forages growing, but
right.
Certainly we have to do a soil test to know that what we're doing, because we don't want to over apply anything. We can't afford to do that.
No,
right.
Can't afford to do that. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep. But I'm proud of your operation here as far as your grazing land and your pasture land and your hay land. And I think that is something that we all can benefit from, that information you just provided to us, and we thank you for that, allowing us to come out today and you sharing that information with us.
Oh, you bet. Anytime.
Yes. Thanks again, Walter. And from a tour and just looking around, I see a water body in the background here, and it looked like it might be servicing more than one function, more than one purpose. I see where runoff might be coming in. I see a meander, a stream-like system coming through. I see an opportunity for fish and aquatic life, and I also see livestock. So just what were your purposes and intention, or what have you tried to manage it for here in the...
Yeah, well, you are correct. What was here originally was just an open place, and I had a gully forming right here. There's a ditch on the back side of this area that goes all the way through the place, and there was a gully forming in this area. So I talked to the people at the Natural Resources and Conservation Service, and what was identified was a community across here, and they all have septic systems. And those septic systems were discharging somewhat into the area here, into the landscape. And you can see we're downstream from that. So the green streak that you see mainly is the nutrification coming from those septic systems down into this area. So this sediment basin acts as a trap, one, to trap the nutrients from coming from the community, also to trap the clay particles or the soil particles, trap those and let them settle out in this area here. And then it's a pipe sitting over right in amongst those trees there. And what happens is that water then goes through the pipe into the ditch and then safely travels off this place, you know, in a safe manner. So yes, you were correct in that it serves as a watering facility, as a pond basically,
right.
But for animals to water out of. But the true reason it was here is that it's a sediment basin.
Right.
So that helps. That is also an opportunity. There are some fishing here for the grandkids like to come out here and fish in the spring and summertime. So they enjoy that as well. And also it traps those nutrients from coming from that community into this area. Yeah. And then nature has its own filtering system that takes care of it. The forages and kind of filter some of the nutrients out. You can see some of it is being used by the plants, And then here you don't see a green film or a high algae buildup. So lots of it is already trapped before it ever hits in this, this area right here. But what's left settles out in this sediment basin, and the clean water, of course, goes through the pipe and into the area. Right. Now we mentioned some operation and maintenance. And along this levee, you can see that we have some oak trees, some willow oak trees that start to grow along that levee there. Right. And this summer, we're going to dip those out, have those removed before those roots go through that levee and create some problems. But that's kind of the function of this particular sediment basin here is to do multiple things. You know, water, some recreation, mainly filtering the sediment that's coming down this area. We stopped a gully from forming, and that was the cause of it, the reasons.
Yeah, and I see where it's evidently it's doing something good, because I don't see the turbidity of the water. It's pretty clear, and then you see a breach between the green surface where you see the basin out along the landscape where it's meandering, and you see a higher buffer zone before it gets into the water. Now, that serves as a filtering system, as you said.
It does, it does. It was designed that way from the people at the local service center. They actually designed it to function just like you just described. The forages just do so much in terms of filtering nutrients and filtering pollutants from the area.
Right.
That's correct.
Yes. And the ultimate thing is we see that the water body, this water, surface water, is at the lowest elevation on your operation in this whole landscape, in this whole micro landscape.
Right.
So therefore the placement of it is important. Placement is critical. And also, I do not see any type of other crops. Everything is used for pasture and grazing land. You do not have any type of other crops you're trying to introduce down in this zone.
No, not at all.
So we looking at this, and you got to be neighbor friendly, and in order to allow convenience for something that was here before you got here, those residential areas were over across the road, and then you had your property on this side of the street, then you had to make some allowance because that was already happening before you got here. So therefore, you had to find ways, working with the agency, in order to accommodate a situation which is environmentally friendly, and also was able for you to continue your operation as a livestock operator. So you were trying to capture and kill two birds with one shot. So that is something that we have to always be mindful of. What was here before I got here and started my farming operation? What was the community like? What was already being in place? So how do I come in and try to be a friend, a neighbor, in a situation where there was already some ongoing concerns that might have been a resource concern? But your farming operations help minimize or mitigate that concern by installing a sediment basin, buffer, and a sediment pond to help prevent off-site pollutants from going off your farm into the streams and waterways. So that was a good, friendly conservation management practice that you help make happen here on your farm.
So true. We can coexist.
Yeah.
You know, the urban, the places where people live and the farms can coexist when good stewardship is in place. And that's what we're trying to accomplish here.
Yes, right.
Just good stewardship.
Good stewardship. And does any of this water back up on any of your rest of your hayland from heavy rainfall or precipitation? Does you get water, temporary water that backs up any distance that prevents you from continuing the use or access to the area?
Not really. The land lays pretty gentle. It's sloping this way, and we got a 3-inch rain 2 days ago. So this is about the worst that you're going to see it. And in a couple of days, this water will have found its way into this sediment basin and through that vortex pipe over there into the ditch, on around and off the place.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Safely takes it right on off the place.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we really appreciate that insight and better understanding and clarity on just what services this area was providing, because we know that this land, this area right here, could never be suitable for pasture, or suitable for grazing, or suitable for hayland. So what an existing use, try to maximize the existing use and try to see what we can do to capitalize off that. And that is exactly an example of what you did here today. And then it's not taken away from your enterprise, because it was never going to be prime hayland anyway. Right. So you a gully. So you were able to capitalize on, maximize the use and benefits for the overall farm operation.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, Walter, we are in an area right at the edge of your property, your management area, and we see where you have a structure, and it may be some way that it's been deteriorated. It's not functioning like it was planned. So what's going on here?
So what we have here is a drop pipe, basically, that was installed. We have lots of water coming up the watershed, from down the watershed, from the highway all the way across the property. And just a tremendous amount of water come this way. And what happened is that they put a structure in here, and the structure was designed to handle the amount of water coming. But over time, water started to work its way at the beginning of the structure down underneath the structure.
Compromising the structure.
Compromising the structure. And then what has happened is you see a head cut now starting to form all the way back up to here. And it's even further than that, because we see water just channeling right here at the beginning of it. So all the way back to here, you can see where the soil is dropping. So you're getting a head cut back. All the way around this structure now has been compromised. So we have deep depressions, and the concrete itself has dropped below the pipe rim there now. So it's going to take a good bit of work to come in here and replace or get around this structure and fix it, so that we can trap this water and the water move over the top of the concrete into the pipe versus underneath and around the pipe.
Right.
So that's what has happened. There's too much water coming this way, and big rainfall events have caused that, and this soil type may have contributed to it too, being so easily eroded. And this concrete needs to be level with the soil and not anywhere above it, because water will start hitting the edge of the concrete, right, and will work its way down. Right. And that's what has happened. It has, right, compromised this whole structure, right, in doing so. So you see, right, we got, again, head cuts here, all the way around the structure over here. We got a big, deep spot over here. Then right in there behind the pipe, we also got a bad
right,
area as, yeah, well. So, yeah, this is neat, you know. Yeah. And NRCS has been good about working with me on this, and, right, they have promised to come out and look at this and make some recommendations in terms of how we can get this fixed. And also provide some type of assistance to fix this again.
Yeah. But one thing I noticed, wherever it started at, this is just evidence where it is blown out at. The problem is starting back that way somewhere.
Yes. And
it's going to continue to eat away, like you said, at your hit with cuts. And then it's going to eat back into your management zone where, right, you have your pasture areas, right, at. Right. And it's not going to get any better. Right. So I'm glad that you reached out to the NRCS field office, and they have informed you that they will come out and see what they can do to restore or do some remediation or recovery, and getting the structure back to where it's functioning properly.
Right.
Yes. Right. Okay. Mm-hmm. And how long has this been? Have you noticed this problem going on?
We talked to him about this the middle part of last year, and then we had a couple of really big storms to come. Good. And then right before the drought, we had a couple of, last spring was really rainy, lots of water last spring. I think that was the beginning of it. And then this winter, whatever rains we've had recently has really started to speed up the process, because right, this wasn't here 3 or 4 months ago.
Right, right. And I see where you have unimproved, pretty much area that has been left unimproved. So have you made allowance for this whole area to be used for the reconstruction or the repair of this zone?
I have. This area here is about 10 acres in this block back here that we've been on a 5-year rotation in terms of every year trying to clear up or fix up a place on the place to reclaim some areas.
Yeah.
So this is the last area to be reclaimed. So this spring we're going to have heavy equipment come in and reclaim this 10 acres so that we can use it for grazing as well. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It has a tremendous amount of sweet gum in it, some willow oaks right here, but mostly sweet gums.
Right.
And it don't take them long to get a foot on you if you're not careful.
Right. Yeah.
So we'll come in and reclaim that, clean this whole area here up, and hopefully repair this pipe, and maybe put some structures ahead of all this water to kind of slow it down before it gets, to the pipe.
Start compromising doing any damage. The farther away from the actual structure, that you can slow down the velocity, the volume, and then allow for some type of controlled drainage into your structure, into your inlet. Then that will help minimize the long term and will increase your longevity of your structure.
Yes.
Now, some areas are meant to be non-improved, non-manipulated, non-altered in order to allow for drainage.
Right.
So have you allowed for that observation? Not the whole 10 acres will be able to be managed or used for any type of conservation practice. But
so the main ditch that leads down through here has some trees on the bank of it, the embankment of it.
Right.
And what's happening on those banks, I'm going to leave those trees there, sort of a buffer area, to control the erosion in there, also to protect the water in that stream as well, but to control that area so that we can maintain that area so it don't spread out,
right.
in the field up there.
Right.
And then just do a better job of maintaining the area, maybe fence off both sides of it so the cattle don't get in it and compromise the ditch itself.
Right.
So if I can fence off both sides and maintain that area and keep the water flowing through here, slow it down some.
Right.
And maybe we won't have end result as this. It's dumping out into the area behind it, but it's going underneath the structure.
Not as planned.
Going through the structure.
Right, that's it. That's it. Yeah, but we see that, we're glad that you identified or noticed that this is not working properly and call the attention of the agency in order to come out and get help to correct and remove the possible further continuation of damage to your mainland, to your farmland.
Right. Yeah. I can see that it's beginning to get to be a problem. It's all the way back to here, really.
Yeah.
You can see the soil starting to go down all in here and all around there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
We thank you for that observation, and thank you for sharing this part on your back corner of your property. And it could have been well hidden because it's grown up, so you could have not known that was a danger until it was too late. It got to your field. But
not really pretty, but it's a part of the place, and we're going to use it in the future.
Well, we're about at our last stop for today, and we're at the prettiest place. Not to count this, count the other places. All places had its own signature to it, but I like green cover, and I like the open landscape. And we are on an upland, and we see a winter cool season cover. And let us know what's your recipe and how it has helped improve, and what your thoughts are as far as we go into a climate discussion about climate change, global warming, climate smart, all of them things. That's what we'll segue into. But right now, let's know how you got started as far as planning this cool season cover, and what's the mix, and how it help, what improvements are standing to be made on this ground here.
Okay. All right, so the base cover for this particular field is a Bermuda grass, Bahia grass mix. And in the fall, what we do is come in, we lightly disc this whole area, and we seeded it this year to a mixture of oats, wheat, and ryegrass. We use a diversity because, again, I don't like monocultures. Trying to get some early grazing with the oats and trying to get some sustain the grazing season and lengthen it with the ryegrass, basically. So we planted wheat, oats, and ryegrass in this area, fertilized it, and we have a stand here. Now this winter did not allow us, if you remember, we had a really dry fall, so we didn't get any rain to start with. And then after we got rain in November, then we started getting a little grass to start to come up, germinate and come on. And then we got cold snap back here a few weeks ago where we had some ice and stuff up here. And so the grass is starting to come back, and look like we might be able to get in here and begin to do some heavier grazing in this area here as time go on. You know, the whole thing about climate smart and the whole thing about sequestering carbon is keeping green material out all the time, you know, year round. And so we are trying to do that here in these 2-3 pastures here, basically, by overseeding winter annuals in this area. And when I say overseeding, we did take a disc and we chopped in here a little bit too to get a better soil to seed contact. It's been my experience that when you just throw it on top of the ground, you don't get the germination or cover that I desire to warrant putting out the fertilizer and warrant, the cost of the seed and all that stuff. Right. So what we're trying to do is make sure we get as much forage growing as possible. Now, keeping this green all the time, we are sequestering carbon. We're keeping a live root in the system. We're also keeping green material out here year round, basically. So when this grass is mature, it will probably be grazed really hard there the last of May, first part of June. That'll be the end of the ryegrass. Right. But right in there, that's where the summer grasses, where the Bahia grass and the Bermuda grass really start to take off. And so it's green. And then next fall, hopefully we get the early rains like in October, and so we're trying to plant again. We'll drill this in here or scratch it and put some more in here, right, like that. Now, my heart is to do more of this across the farm, across the landscape. Right. And next year, what we're hoping to do is this pasture and this about 50 acres across this tree line. Mm-hmm. We want to do the other 50 acres too, so that we can even start grazing the area earlier. Move the cattle in on some of this, take them back off. Move them in, have a rotational system such that we can benefit from some of this grazing that's got big enough, some of the wheat and oats like that get big enough early. Benefit from that and then take them back off. Even if we just leave them on for a few hours a day, put them on a better nutritional plane than what we have this year. So every year we're trying to improve, but we certainly want to keep something green available for the environment, for the ecosystem, and to work on this global warming piece, because we're starting to see bigger storm events, 3-inch rain the other day. The last weekend before that, we had up to 5 to 6 inches of rain, rain for big events, and not anything in moderation, just big events. The storms, I told you about the tornado that came through and took out the barns and those type of things. Yeah. So we're starting to have these big events. Yes, sir. And that's indicative of the climate issues that we're having. Mm-hmm. And again, the drought really put a hurt on many cattle farmers in this area because of our hay situation. We were not able to harvest on many farms. Farmers were not able to harvest enough hay, and so that made hay sales really go up for those who had surplus forage. And then it also made a lot of people start to harvest fields that were not quality hay. Right. you know. And so when we harvest hay that's not of quality, we really hurt our cattle this time of year when they really need good supplemental feeding. Right. Mm-hmm.
And I noticed you have a cross fencing system you're installing right now, and with the size of your herd, the total acreage does not is oversized for the herd in order to support that herd. So the purpose of cross fencing is to partition those areas that you can manage it better and do a rotational type system.
Right, right. That's right. We are planning for the future. You know,
right.
we have with the help of NRCS, we were able to get some cross fencing, and you can see we have begun the process here. We've have our posts and brace posts and all in place. We just need to, you know, pull the wire, stretch the wire, right. And we're waiting on a good day to do that. The reasons for the way we're trying to manage and graze the place is so that we can control the grazing and we can limit the amount of feed that we actually having to feed these cattle.
Right.
And by doing that, we're hoping to be able to move the cattle into this area from the gate that's north of us, right. And then into this area and watch the forages. You know, right. I would tell you we're going to leave them here a week, but that's not so. We're just going to watch the forages. When we think they got half of it, we're going to move them to the next paddock over here. Yeah. And then watch it, and when we see that we got half grazed, we're going to move them into this back side. Right. And it's smaller than the other side, so we know that we can't keep them here long, right. But we're going to watch it, and then we'll bounce them back over to where they were and let this area recover. Right. Let this area recover, keep this blade, keep this leaf growing, keep this, because this is where we are sequestering the carbon from.
Right. That's it.
Right. This is going to make the difference in the climate smart. That green leaf that's on this plant.
Right.
More leaf we can get, the better we're going to be off.
Yep. And it's sequestering carbon, and it's using carbon for an energy source so it can grow. But the main thing is carbon is not being escaped back into the atmosphere.
Exactly.
Yes. And I know you said that based on our moisture and the rainfall, and you had not already commenced grazing, one of the other reasons is the compaction. You have a livestock herd, then they compact the ground when it's soft and moist, it's too wet.
Right.
So, and you have your system, your cross fencing, try to manage according to that wetness condition. So explain.
Yeah. It's been pretty wet. We like I said, we had like 5 inches of rain about 14 days ago. And then about 3 days ago, we had another 3 inches. So this area has been pretty wet down in here, particularly in the lower parts of the field. So we don't like to graze areas when we got those conditions, because the hoofing action of the cows really do more damage to the forages that we got coming along than the benefits they get from grazing those areas. Right. So with cross fencing, we're able to move them back out.
Yeah.
You know, until we get this a little bit more firm, right. And then put the cattle back in here, you know, off and on, just bouncing them off and on. It's kind of a, you know, put and take system. You just watch and see what happens. So you have to be watching what's going on the place in order to manage it the way that it needs to be, to be managed.
Yes.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure since you've cleared it and you're looking at the whole landscape, you managed, because of you can see more now, you can see the topography of your pasture grazing land areas. So that allowed you to be able to determine where you're going to cross fence, you're going to partition off things at. Okay, and once you partition off your acreages, then you're also looking at a rotational, and one of the rotations just like for specialty crops, like for pest management and disease management. Mm-hmm. What in grazing land and livestock, what are some of the other things you use as far as a rotational type piece? I know it's for
well, I'm glad you asked that question. So in cattle, we have parasites, right? We have intestinal worms, and these worms pretty much lay their eggs in these dung piles, and then the larvae crawls up these forages and cattle graze them, and that's how they get worms. So we can break the cycle of these worms by rotationally grazing, you know. If we can get in here inside of the cycle of the time that it takes the larvae to actually, the egg to hatch, move these cattle, and then we don't have that, we break the cycle. And when we break the cycle, then that's better for the cattle. Yeah. You know, we typically going to check these cattle in the fall and in the spring, and we're going to worm them pretty much right before freeze and right at green up. Yeah. That's typically how we worm cattle here. Yeah. And when we do that, we can tell, you know, by rotational grazing that the numbers counts go lower by doing rotation. You know, anytime you can allow that larvae to go through its life cycle without the cows actually picking it up, right, you are better off. You're miles ahead in the managing the intestinal parasite game. Right.
And that part of the management system is just as important is the grazing, the grassland itself. It's the management of how you utilize it.
Right. And you have to look at it from a holistic approach. You know, we talked about climate smart, you know, being climate change, climate smart, developing systems to augment reduce the carbon footprint. Then we talked about the nutrition of the cattle, managing the internal parasites. All of that's a part of the schematics that it takes. Then we have to take care of the land. Yeah. We have to take care of the health of the soil, right, and be sure we got a living root in here. Be sure in pasture we don't per se have cover crops, right, but we can plant a winter forage into these pastures, yeah, and it will serve like a cover crop would in a row crop situation. Right. So we try to do that, yes, in order to keep some balance in our nutrients, keep the soil healthy, yeah, and hopefully the soil will be healthy and last, yes, you know, for generations to come.
Yes. I'm glad you said that complete comprehensive, being a good steward is not only for just trying to grow a livestock up until a certain weight and try to sell them and make as much money as you can, but you're trying to be a good conservation, a good steward of the land. Right. And you be a good steward of the land, you're looking at sustainability and also environmental conditioning and improvement and sustainability, environmental health. Okay, so you're looking at the holistic approach on your farm operation. You're not looking at it just one-dimensional. And that's what we really appreciate that. And you have exemplified that here with us today. And also the demonstration that you will allow others in the community to come and look at and see how you operate your farm operation, that they may find something good in it that they could take back to theirs. And every footprint of this type of activity or practice you have installed, that's reducing the carbon footprint to some degree. And also in allowing us to be good stewards and better stewards of the land. You said your grandkids, you want to be able to have something to pass on to them. So I think if you stay on that track, that'll be a possibility, that'll be a reality. So we thank you for your allowing us to tour with you today, and hope you the best, and hope you have a successful farming operation, that the Holmes County can be proud to have a farmer in its community such as you.
Well, I thank you and Upland Farms for coming and being with us today and trying to, you know, understanding what we do. And I appreciate the suggestions that you made. And we do what we can do to manage the land here, and we want to leave it better than we found it.
That's it. That's the bottom line. The bottom line. That's it.